All right, it appears to be live. We'll just make sure. That's me. Pretty much close enough to being me. So we'll just go with the close enough version. Anyway, usual routine probably mostly. I'll play some Bill Gates video just for the emphasis points. And yeah, they're sort of useful videos. I mean, he does take quotes from, the record, history, different people. Some of them are quite useful in terms of perspective on how people saw things. He had a Maxwell quote, I think, in the Ether video that was sort of interesting, where Maxwell was implying that it's clear that magnetism is a form of light. That these two radiations have something fundamental in common, and they're so much like each other. And I just keep making this argument that's exactly consistent with the argument that I'm making. And it's really not even an ether argument, unless you think light's an ether, but it's the idea that recognizing that he's describing the force of magnetism, and he's saying it's like light in the sense that it does this straight line thing. It's a straight line force. It's rays of force, not that it's waves or any of this other stuff. You don't need waves. You just need the force to do the same thing a light bulb does, in a sense, in terms of its proportionality at distances and all that kind of stuff. So yes, and the fact that there is this, yes, it's the same force. That's the whole point. They're all one force, and they're just filtered versions of that one force. So they all have components in common. You could argue that the electromagnetic spectrum is a little different in the sense that adding a frequency isn't, it's not like something you filter. Let's see, it's not elemental. It's a step above being an elemental difference. So it's not a difference in the force itself, it's in a difference in the manifestation of the force. So, yeah, I'm trying to come up with an allegory, a metaphor from real life. You sort of know, like, there's, I don't know, you could say black and white people, and then you could argue that you could filter that easily. That's easy to see that difference and to magnify that difference. But frequency is, yeah, quite different. Black people a certain distance from each other is a little higher level of change, but it's still made out of the same elemental bits. It's just first you separate the black from the white, and then you take the black and you put it at a frequency, certain distance between them. Anyway, so not much in comment, so I'll just read these quickly. All right, I will take a look at your overview videos and consider this theory bottoms up. Thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, you can't appreciate it. You can't learn it any other way. And again, it is the subject of physics, so it has to cover so many subjects. You can't just say, this is where the theory fits gravity, and that's the end of your conversation. You have to sort of explain how it fits everything, and that's the real argument that points to it. That's why the theory makes so much sense, is because it does cover everything. Did you end up doing preventive surgery? Well, I don't know if it'd be preventive on your potential skin cancer. No, it's still there. Yeah, still there. Dot. Yeah, it hasn't gotten any worse, so I'm not desperate yet. But yes, can't get a doctor to come here. So, I just don't want to do it myself if I don't have to. But, yeah, it's on my mind, something that has to be done sooner or later. Probably. Anyway, all right, so I think that's it for the comments. I don't think Bill has responded any further. No, he has not. So we'll go to a couple of spots in this. So this video is called Action at a Distance. And, you know, those terms are always messed around with, you know, action at a distance and the idea of entanglement. You know, those two subjects get a little bit crossover, and they're really kind of different. An action at a distance really isn't action at a distance. If you understand, you don't really say when you turn a flashlight on and it hits the wall and the light is now illuminating the wall, you don't really think action at a distance. You know, so it just really has to do with the visibility or invisibility, our familiarity with a force or unfamiliarness with a force. So because we're very familiar with light, we understand, oh yeah, the light travels and it hits the wall, you know, and forces are doing the same thing. They're traveling and then hitting in an interactive way. And so the lack of imagination that Bill is demonstrating is that he can only think that you can't change something. You know, the way you throw it at it doesn't change. And clearly, if you could understand that everything's already surrounded by stuff hitting, and all I have to do is stop stuff from hitting you, that's the same thing as illuminating, in the sense I've changed the circumstance. And that's why you can see the difference. So we're just talking about change. So you can sort of understand that if you really are being light shining on you from all directions and I create a shadow, the shadow will be something you can see. And if you understand the shadow to be a lack of energy, then you're going to understand why that would pull, why that would cause attraction. Even though there's no real attraction, it's just because there's more force on the other side hitting it and less on this side that it comes towards you. Now, it doesn't take a whole lot of imagination to do that. And it's a way of understanding how the force can be radial, and all you're doing is regulating how much force. So you're not saying force or no force. You're saying how intense is the force. And there just happens to be this inverse relationship where if I segregate a force, you know, separate, and the force, and there's something out there who can see the separation. So I have two things. I have two circumstances opposing each other. And this is sort of a magnetism analogy, but so just imagine that these are complementary colors and some, you know, I don't know how else to do it. But anyway. And you could say that these things had affinity for each other, that black had affinity for blue and that brown had affinity for red. And then I, by filtering, switch that. Then you'd understand why they would repel. So there could be a circumstance that you're changing where, you know, something that has a condition where it knows the difference between black and red or black and brown, that it's going to be sensitive to that condition if it's producing, you know, brown, and this is producing black. You can sort of understand that if I take something and oppose it, that this will be shooting brown and this will be shooting black, and there'll be an exaggerating, a magnification of any repulsion or attraction, any effect or uneffect. Anyway, I've done the magnetism argument many times better than I just articulated it, but it's clearly just an obvious answer to the question. So this lack of imagination is really the problem in some respects, because they can't think of it, therefore it can't exist. And this was a real sickness that Feynman had. You know, Feynman's arrogance, kind of. If I can't imagine it, you have no chance of imagining it, so let's just give up and just calculate. Forget about the cause.
Right? Well, once or twice at least, I'd say. They say, well, you know, I can also invent angels. I say, okay, let's see.
All right, so he's basically talking about the fact that there's lots of these physicists that claim they have some understanding of magnetism, but the clear, when you go to ask them or probe them for an answer to why magnets attract and repel, the answer is vague and there's just no answer. So they don't come up with any physical mechanism. They just say something like a virtual photon, and they don't explain how that virtual photon creates two different properties, attraction and repulsion. They have no clue. They just say it's some sort of force that radiates and that, creates this field circumstance, where there's shadow and there's light, if you want to use those examples. I think those are just like obvious reasons. You could, like I said, the shadow part sort of just screams a lack of stuff hitting, which means you would move towards the lack, from the high pressure to the low pressure. So in a way, it's like, how could you miss that? But clearly, everything they do say, everything quantum mechanics can say about magnetism is perfectly consistent with it being this radial force that just radiates in a way that isn't sensitive, that creates a invisibility to the opposite, in the sense that the electron pressure created at one end, the electron force, and you have a proton force coming out of the bottom end of the magnet. If they're like poles are facing each other, then the other magnet will see the electron force is very reflective. And if it was proton force, it would go right through it, without affecting it. And, it leaves perpendicular, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't have an effect. And so clearly, if you turn the magnets upside down, you'll have exactly the opposite effect. Like the black force will go out the one end and the red force will go out the other end, and there'll be no pressure. So the two magnets will attract, not because you threw something at them that was energetic, because you threw something at them that was more benign than the other stuff you could have thrown at them. They're, say, allergic to black people and they love white people. I should have stayed away from that analogy, but that's essentially the truth of it, is the likes attract kind of thing. In this case, it's the exact opposite, of course. I agree. The shadow idea makes so much sense. I've always been skeptical of models presented in school, and I feel you articulate what I've always felt since I began my studies. Well, I agree. That's a fairly nice comment for a radically bizarre change. Jeez, I don't even know how to react. Yes, then I guess you must be a logical person, except for your bizarre screen name. Otherwise, you must be rather sensible. Because yes, everything offered by physics is so vague, so unmechanical. It's just not very. It's not a rugged man's kind of theory of reality. It's it's fluffy and mushy. So, I mean, that part alone is just kind of irritating. Even if the truth was something we couldn't define, and they actually had to be this vague. Yeah, it's just a really uncomfortable thing for me. I just find it very uncomfortable to have these vague virtual photon, bent geometry. These aren't answers. Not even close to an answer.
How do we do it with angels? Well, yeah, I got you.
All right, so he keeps arguing that somehow any theory is better than no theory. So if they just say something stupid like the fire bear sits inside of the earth and makes gravity or something, that somehow that would be better than just this vague thing. Well, clearly the vague thing has huge advantages because you don't have to answer any questions. And clearly I don't see any point in just making up anything. So in a sense, I see his rope theory as just a desperate effort to come up with anything. It might as well be a spring theory, right? I mean, why bother with the twisting ropes when you could do the same thing with a vibrating spring? So why don't you just call it spring theory? Because the twisting ropes is essentially the same thing, right? I mean, it just creates tension. So all you need is anything that creates tension. So just call it rubber band theory, anything. And it would do the same thing. But it's just it's a hugely advanced non-elemental function. It's a complex device, a rubber band. It's not a simple device. So you're not answering the question. So you're doing sort of what Feynman argued. In Feynman not answering the question, you know, he had a point where he could say, look, I could just say everything's attached by rubber bands, but is that an answer? Because then I have to explain how rubber bands work. And again, by saying rope theory, we didn't have to explain what the ropes are made out of, where the hell all the rope come from, how do you know, and then all the consequences of the fact that it doesn't really provide a reliable mechanism to explain how energy really does move through the universe, because it doesn't get tangled and it doesn't do all this stuff that ropes would do.
Two angels, and they flap their wings and do this and then that, and they got their experience. I said, okay, so now we have two mechanisms. We have one with a rope and one with angels.
Right, and it might as well just be Mohammed and Jesus, as far as I'm concerned. Useless. Both of them are just, again, too desperate and not elemental enough, not simple enough. So they just fail as potential candidates for the truth, in my opinion. The truth has to be something very simple, and you really can't get anything simpler than pieces of crap banging into each other. So if there's a pieces of crap explanation banging into each other that works, that has an advantage in this race.
Right? Now do it with particles according to quantum.
Right. So according to quantum, see, you just pointed out how they don't have an explanation. Now, all quantum is saying, essentially, is the thing Maxwell said, which is the force behaves in these certain parameters. So it's a radial force. It projects very much like light projects from a light bulb, and if it obeys the inverse square law, and like I said, it doesn't bend, it doesn't do all these weird things. It does pretty direct things. And the force is always proportional. It's always this and it's always that. So it has really, it follows some strict rules. Now, yes, they haven't explained, oh, well, the gimmick is, you know, that the force can be, you know, switched to red from blue, or the force can be, you know, some way of making it clear that the force turns positive and then the force turns negative. And in the sense that it's still the same force, it's just that when it's negative force, photons don't interact with it. When it's positive force, electrons interact with it. So it's just some mechanism to be able to regulate it, to filter it, to change it. So the force changes to create attraction or repulsion. Now they could say that that change exists. So you have a virtual photon, a mechanism that works like photons that we won't declare a real thing yet, because we can't explain where they came from. The magnet has to generate them, and yet there's no mechanism for generating a force. Yeah, forces have to come from something. You have to put energy into a battery before you can release it from the battery. There's no mechanism like that described in their theory, so there's a huge missing bit. You know, it's just, again, it's just so obvious. It's hard for me to have this conversation just because it seems so obvious that in the case of gravity and in the case of magnetism, this is a huge unanswered question. Where does the energy come from? And so and again, in Bill's rope theory, the energy comes from the winding of the springs. So it's built into the system. It's not free energy. Well, that's not even true, because this magnet theory has to do with these ropes. So the magnets have perpetual energy with these ropes swinging, and the ropes hit each other, and that's repulsion, and the ropes go opposite each other, and that somehow means attraction or some way, which has no real, hasn't got a chance of explaining the intense strength of magnets. Not even close.
And that's where it finishes. The discussion finishes there, because you can't do it with particles. You can't do it with field.
Okay, so you keep saying you can't do it with particles. So that's the part I just want to say that, I mean, he's clearly So he wants to make emphatic statements that you can't do it. I've explained how you can do it. Okay, merely by having two kinds of energy and then two kinds of matter. By having charge, electrons and protons, and then having force that the electrons and protons are sensitive to. So electrons are reflective to electron force, protons are reflective to proton force, and vice versa, in the sense that they don't reflect, they go out perpendicularly when the opposite force hits them. And that creates the relief valve, so you no longer can trap energy between them. So if proton force goes in between two electrons, it leaves perpendicularly, you can't keep reflecting. If electron force goes between two electrons, it gets stuck forever until something releases it, because it reflects. And with that simple mechanism, you can create attraction and repulsion. That easy. Just by flipping the magnet, you allow all the black energy to leave here and all the red energy to leave through here, and no pressure, they go together. When you have them opposite poles, then you have all reflections. The force coming out is reflective force to the thing seeing it. So the thing reflects it back. And it's all reflection. That's why the pressure gets stronger and stronger. So it's like having a ping pong ball bouncing between two things. The closer I bring it, the more the ball bounces. That is, more hits, more energy. It's just so obvious an explanation. It perfectly fits. Bill's not curious enough or diligent enough in proving his point to accept that, yes, somebody can explain it. It can be done. It doesn't take too much imagination to create an energy mechanism that creates attraction merely by separating out two kinds of reaction, strong reaction and weak reaction. And by having those mixed together, they just turn into one blended act. But when you segregate them out, then you can emphasize the differences. And by emphasizing those differences or magnifying them, you can create a lot of interesting interaction. All right. You are asking him to respond to that video, or do you approve of that video? What does that mean? Are you asking him to respond to that video? Or do you approve of that video? Wow, I just don't know what that means. So I'll give up on it. I think the video has merit. I stand by that video. What did he say here that's so weird? I agree. The shadow idea makes so much sense. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. I have no clue. All right, thank you for completely confusing the host of the room. Where does the energy come from? Question mark. So this is, the whole theory is premised on the fact that the energy is in the universe. The cosmic background radiation is a tiny portion of the energy. Gravity is the energy. Okay, when you're seeing gravity, that force isn't coming from nowhere. It's coming from exactly the same place the cosmic background radiation comes from. It's coming from the outside. The universe pushes you into the earth. Amazing. Ever tried to pull two magnets apart? No, I never did. Is that the answer you expected me to give you? I mean, why would anybody even ask this a question so fucking patronizing? Ever tried to pull two magnets apart? I've spent 7 years watching hours and hours and hours of boring lectures on physics, and you think I've never tried to pull two magnets apart? All right, that takes energy to do. You got the kinetic energy back when you let them pull each other back together again. Yeah, that's the same dopey theory as gravity. Somehow you can push the Earth into the sun for free, because if you ever tried to get the Earth away from the sun, you'd have to expend energy to do it. So you get this free energy going in, and, well, you have to give it back to leave. So therefore, we don't have to account for it. No, you still have to account for where it came from. The fact that you're going to give it back doesn't mean you don't have to account for its origin. So wrong answer. All right, let's get some harder questions. Your point is a little bit mushy, so you shouldn't be complaining. Aha, this man forgets what he said by the time people respond to it. I don't forget what I said, so I just block you, right? I mean, that's just idiotic. What did I say? You know, where did I say something to justify these comments? Are you asking him to respond to that video? What, to the video I'm playing? Am I asking who to respond to what? I'm supposed to understand that sentence. There's no way to understand it. Oh, anyway, forgets what he said by the time people respond to it in chats. Then says the commenters don't make sense. Well, you don't see how you don't make any sense. You're expecting somebody to just spend the entire room just reading your comments. I'm playing a video. Do you see that? And I'm responding to the video. I can't be reading comments while I'm composing responses to the video. You do understand that, right? Amazing nonsense. I expect more from a man smart enough to rewrite all of physics. Well, I'll give you one more chance and one more bullshit asswipe comment like this useless mush about your expectations of my capacity to multitask and to be perfectly clear on what little chatters are doing while I'm fucking listening to somebody else and composing responses. If you're going to be that big a fucking douche, then you can go fuck off, useless fuck. And once again, you started it, you shithead. Ever tried to pull two magnets apart? Who the fuck says something that fucking stupid in a conversation like this? It's like asking a car mechanic, have you ever opened the hood of a car? I mean, fuck you till dead, you insulting douche. Yes, God, what an asshole you are. I expect more. There, how's about that? I expect more for commenters on my videos to do something so fucking idiotic as to ask a fucking annoyingly putrid crap sentence like that. And to even say, where does the energy come from, question mark, when I'm the one that's been asking that over and over and over again, douche for bag. God, you stupid piece of shit.
Potential at each point in space, you can't draw another magnet with that concept.
Yeah, okay. So as I pointed out, yes, you can. You can create the illusion of attraction by merely creating the fact that the force you're segregating. You take the strong force and send it sideways and only send the strong force at the guy. So you have an average pitcher throwing, you have one pitcher throwing 90-mile-an-hour pitches and you have another guy pitching 30-mile-an-hour pitches. And the idea is the other side has the mixture. So there's the 90 guy and the 30 guy hitting the object from the other side. And then you filter the pitches. And now only 30-mile-an-hour pitches are coming from you. Now the other guy still has the mixture with the 90s in it. Clearly, that's going to mean the thing's going to move towards you. It's going to look like attraction. You're still throwing the same number of baseballs, but they're all 30-mile-an-hour baseballs, and that just ain't going to get the job done. Fuckhead.
You can't do it with angels either.
I'd rather believe in angels.
So he'd rather believe in angels. He'd rather have a theory that's just made up crap, like rope theory or something. Just make up some kind of, let's call it screw theory. So every atom in the universe is connected to every other atom with a screw. Same difference, right? Exactly the same as his theory, right? Because as you turn the screw, the two things would move closer, and then you wind the screw out, they get further away. And then you can just have the photon travel on the threads of the screw. So you can just make up any dopey mechanism. When, again, my argument would be you have to come up with something elemental. It can't be a complex machined part. The universe isn't made out of complex machined parts. It's made out of something as simple as, this thing banged into that thing. That's the reality. It's going to be made out of something that simple. All right, so we have no advancement in the comments, so we'll go to the other clip. 57. Quite uncomfortable today. Having a bad period mentally or I don't know. This might be something wrong with me physically. I don't know. I'm just not very good. Not feeling very charming. Right about. Come on, go a little further. I want like 40. Come on, 40. I want 40, 56, 50. That's what I want. That's close enough.
It cannot explain the mechanism. You just put whatever you want instead of a field. If a field, like Sean Carroll says,
So let's just understand. So quantum mechanics, the field, what they've recognized, what they've figured out, as much as they have figured something out, is that there is an effect. And the effect is very much like this idea of things being changed. I mean, the idea that you could calculate the field created by a light bulb, and you could know that there's a certain density of photons. As you go further out, there's more and more less and less photons per square inch. So you could say that that's the field the light bulb creates. And so the idea is the magnet is creating two polar fields. One pole creates a field, the other pole creates a field, and those fields are sort of inverse to each other. They're opposite in this fundamental way of effect. So the one field has an effect on the north pole of the other magnet. The other field has an effect on the south pole. So they understand the effect. They just have no mechanism. So, and it's like I said, the only way you can make it turn on and off, the only way you could make the fields polar is to understand that the force has to be polar. The force, like the atom, has the same problem of electron in it and proton in it. Two different things. There's two different things in the photons of the light, so to speak. So if I made a light bulb, well, even light bulbs are doing it right now, right? There's 3 colors in there. So just think of it as 2 colors. And you could just filter the colors out, and one color was visible to you and the other color was invisible to you. It's sort of that simple. You're just filtering the substance out of it. So you'd have all the intensity of the light coming out one way through the filter, and a part that you're not sensitive to at all coming out. And obviously one could create an impact on you, and one would create no impact on you. And that's all the magnet's doing. It's just filtering something that already exists. And it's the same truth for gravity. Matter's just a filter of force. It just filters the force.
Particle has a field, and that field extends throughout the universe. That's the way they covered all the bases. They said, look, every particle, a muon,
See, that's always been a problem with this. Once you establish a law or a rule, and they don't really understand what the mechanism of the rule is. See, if I did this with photons, people could understand that, all right, yes, theoretically, I turn a light bulb on planet Earth and I shine it at the sky. They can understand that theoretically those photons are going out across the entire universe. But they would also concede, I think, because they know it from their own telescope observations, that there'll be places in the distant universe that will never know that light bulb existed. There'll be some places where you'll never see it. Okay, because no photon will ever go to certain locations, ever. And certain other locations, they will finally hit. One every million years, a photon will hit that location. But the further out when you get to extreme distances, the idea of the inverse square law sort of breaks down, because the force becomes all or nothing. You either get hit by a whole photon or you get absolutely nothing. But there isn't any, like, across this whole range that you all get the same amount of light, and it's a less amount of light. There's no light being, casting an even presence on anything once you go super far away. It's either you get a photon or you get nothing. So there are places where the inverse square law just becomes an obvious lie, because there's places you could be and there will never be a photon that hits there from that distant light bulb.
ion, an electron, all of them have a field, and that field extends throughout the universe, both magnetic and electric. So they covered the whole thing. Okay,
and,
fine.
And gravitation.
Right. So, yeah. And so now we.
Yeah, so it's not a big mistake, but it is this idea of you have to be careful about what a rule means or a law means. And I've sort of said this, the inverse square law is pretty reliable in most cases, but when you get extremely close and extremely far away, it just doesn't fit anymore, because the truth is just a little more complicated. The inverse square law is just an approximation, a generalization of what it is basically. But there is this distinction between it's like the center of a balloon, blown up balloon, the center of the balloon and the skin of the balloon are different than the stuff in the middle of the balloon.
You have that as the foundation. Fine. Okay, so you have this particle. Now put that particle between two magnets. Please explain how north attracts south. Okay,
one is a reflection and one is a type of absorption or rejection. So the simple truth is that there's two ping pong ball paddles, and one of them's black and one of them's red. Now, when one of them's black and one of them's red, if I put a red ping pong ball between them, the red ping pong ball will bounce off the red thing, but it won't bounce off the black thing, and it'll go out perpendicularly. And so there won't be any force between the two things. So if it's a black ping pong ball, it'll go out this one. It's a red one, it'll go out this one, and you won't have any reflection. Now, if it's black paddle, and black ball, it'll stay there forever. If it's black paddle, and red ball, it's doomed. It's going out both of them, so it can't exist there. It can't stay there at all. And that's the simple mechanism for saying no pressure, high pressure. So if you can maintain the reflections, high pressure. If you create a circumstance where they're always opposite, very low pressure. Simple explanation. Unfortunately, you'll never respond to it because you'll never listen to it because you don't bother doing what I'm just doing, which is pay attention to other people's theories and actually respond to them.
With that particle.
Without just saying this ball is this ball and it just happens.
Yeah, they simply can't do it. You can't do it with particles. And that's where...
See, so again, just these emphatic statements from people when I don't think they've really thought about trying to do it. What kind of mechanism I could make. But of course you can do it. It's just a pressure argument. You're just saying, how do I create a low pressure? And like I said, I just did it. Simple. Not that complicated after all. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else to play on that. I might play more of it just for the hell of it, and there's no comments, so it might be a short room. I just wanted to sort of deal with these statements that people make, where they just emphatically keep saying it over and over and over again, and yet how much time has he really spent attempting to come up with a mechanical mechanism that does what he says is impossible? I don't think he spent very long doing that.
Quantum mechanics fails. It's a non-starter because it's a discrete particle theory, and discrete particles cannot explain attraction.
So he keeps saying it, where of course they can, if you understand what attraction is, which is like the push-pull argument. All the pulls are just disguised pushes. So if you can describe to me a real pull in the world, show me something where somebody pulls something where they're not really pushing something. So show me an example of that, and then I might concede your point that this pull thing is a reality. But we have no physical examples in our own life. If I pull on a door, I'm really pushing on the doorknob. Okay, I'm not pulling on the door. I'm pushing the doorknob from behind, quite obviously. So that's true of every handle, everything we pull. So show me a pull that isn't really a push. And then I'll concede your argument that there might be this real attraction thing. There is no real attraction in the universe. Things are always pushed into each other They're never pulled into each other. They're always pushed into each other. The push universe.
What if
Period. Boom.
Period. Boom. Period. You've got the wrong answer, and you're being really, really arrogant, and you're fucking wrong. So what can I say? You're wrong. Ha ha. You silly person. Making emphatic statements, and again, where you haven't even met the simple challenge of answering the simple question, like, well, where in the real world do I see pulls manufactured by anything other than a push? Even the rope is pushing on the back of the neck of the thing you put it around. It's a push.
Done with.
What if they say something like, it's inherently unimaginable. The mechanism is unimaginable, so let's not. There's no physical object that we can put in there.
So this is the irony of this, right? So they're talking about how things are unimaginable, and I'm just explaining how I find pull unimaginable. I can't think of a single way I can pull something where I'm not creating a push mechanism to do my pulling. I'm not the elemental thing I am going to do, the real thing I will do when I'm doing my pulling is I will be pushing. I can't imagine a single circumstance. I can't imagine how it's possible. So the irony of this, is that they're making the exact opposite declarative statement that somehow in their perception of the world, they don't see any pushes, they just see pulls, which is not credible. How do they do that? When the pushes are obvious.
That would explain all this. So let's not bother with that. It's like philosophy. We don't care about that part.
There's some
unimaginable.
There's summarily introducing spirits.
Yeah, no, but
right, and he's introducing something just as bad. Okay, which is a complex mechanism. Okay, so he's introducing toenail clipper. All right, that's not exactly God. That's not Tinkerbell. It's not hard, it's way less complicated than Tinkerbell. But it's still way too complicated to be the elemental function of the universe. The universe can't have toenail clipper controlling it, because then you have to explain, where did toenail clipper come from? How did toenail clipper get made? No, that doesn't work. All right, that's probably not. The rest of it's just this philosophy and semantics of, creationism or something. So I see no point in playing it any further. Got my purpose out of it. So, unless there's some questions from the gallery, we'll move on. Some comments on the idea of action at a distance. The simple truth is there is no action at a distance. We already know all the forces travel the speed of light, clearly indicating they're driving there, or taking the train, or taking a plane. There's obviously a thing that takes time to get there. Things take time to get places, and all the forces are moving the same speed, and they all really do the same thing. They move in straight line beams, rays. The force is radiated from the substance. And clearly, if you can filter that force, you can create dramatic differences in effect. All right, if I superglue the ends of a rubber band to two baseballs and then pull the balls apart, stretching the band, and release it, isn't that a pull between the balls? Yeah, I guess it is, but that's, again, you've resorted to saying basically, let's see how to put it. Technically, you're creating a continuous medium between the ball and the other ball. So you're basically just saying, I glued the two balls together when you make this argument, because it's a continuous medium. So there really isn't any distance, if you get my drift. You've converted something that is happening in space, something conveyed over space, to something conveyed through matter. So it's really not, you're really not talking about the elemental force anymore. You're talking about a very closed system, an environment full of atomic bits. And so, yes, atomic bits are actually pushing, in the sense the external force is creating the bonds between them, their attraction. And so technically, the atomic bonds are pushed forces. And they're created by releasing energy between the atoms. This is exactly as I'm pointing out. So there's no reflections, and therefore the atoms move towards each other. So in that sense, when you atomically bond things, it's still a push force. It's just that now you're doing it on the nuclear push level. So it's not as obvious, but it's still push force that's holding it together. All right. Got it. Thanks. Wow. Well, you got it very quickly. Excellent. Bravo. Well, my answer was pretty good too, quick. I mean, I incorporated what you were saying, and I did a pretty good job of getting it, I think, what you were saying, and why there's a distinction. I mean, you could have just made the same argument. What if I glue my hand to a door and then pull the door open? It's sort of the same argument that, yeah, the push isn't very obvious anymore. But clearly there's no, like I said, you're not using a force anymore. You're not directly applying force. You're attaching yourself to the matter. So yes, so the subject is this action at a distance, and that there is no action at a distance beyond you understanding that when a pitcher throws a ball, you'll hear a sound when it hits the catcher's mitt. Now that's action at a distance, but clearly nobody goes, "That's incredible! How can that possibly happen? How could the catcher's mitt go thump? And how could there be a sound?" Yeah, no one does that for the obvious reason. They saw the baseball hit the glove. So yeah, it's not action at a distance. It's clearly just action in our common parlance. We just say that's just reasonable action. Now, if the ball was invisible, right, and you didn't see the pitcher throw it, and all you heard was thumps, well, then you'd be like, well, how's that thumping happening over there? How is that happening? There's nothing causing it. When you could, again, yeah, if that was our dilemma, we wouldn't fall for it. If somebody just said it just happens, we'd say, no, it happens for a reason. So there's got to be somehow there's something happening. And then maybe we would look behind the screen and see, oh, there's a baseball player they're throwing. Okay, we still don't see the ball, but we see him do the motion. So in magnetism, we kind of see that the magnet's definitely doing something. Now, it's not physically doing what they think, which is all this stuff is swirling all over the place. Absolutely no evidence that the magnet creates any movement at all, any patterns of swirls or anything. No evidence that happens. We've never caught an iron filing moving. Okay, no current. There's no evidence of any motion. There's just evidence of the fact that there's an orientation based on plus and minus. And when plus and minus are in this arrangement, right and left means something. Okay, right. So from one side, it's red, top, bottom, and from the other side, it's bottom, top. That kind of argument. So the poles are inverted based on what side you're on, so to speak. But there's no motion. So it's just filtering these baseballs. And when you throw the right kind, you hear the thump. You throw the wrong kind, you don't hear any thump. It's that simple. And when you hear the thump, the glove moves. When you don't hear a thump, no glove moves. That kind of, it's that simple. The real mechanism. And it's just a matter of, I think they have enough information to already deduce that. I think they should have realized that magnets are filtering something a long time ago. Look, it's the same as the Einstein theory. It should have been unsatisfactory to physics to glue themselves really hard. I mean, to be so positive about a theory that has no energy in it. That should have just smelled right from the beginning. You know, this vacuum cleaner idea. I can make a vacuum cleaner that doesn't consume any energy. It vacuums space, doesn't consume any energy. That should have just said, no, that it can't work that way. You know, that's got to be wrong, because everything we know, when we create a force, we have to pay for it. We can't create a force out of nothing. We have to store it in a battery, and we have to synthesize it through chemical reactions. We have to make the force happen, and we have to consume some sort of process for there to be energy. You can't get it for free and perpetual. And the fact that they have this fundamental theory for gravity, again, that just doesn't explain. If we had to make gravity, in the sense that we had to duplicate the process, like I said, you can just imagine. I'd be nice to know what the exact amount would be. It'd be an interesting just to see it drawn. But I mean, how big would the rocket flame have to be to push the Earth into its orbit? I mean, it'd be an interesting thing to see, to visualize just exactly how much energy it takes. And nobody's accounting for it. Like, there doesn't have to be a source for that flame. And yeah, there does. There's a source. There is a mechanism. And here they've accepted a theory that has nothing. And they've done the same thing to magnets. It would take energy. It takes energy to smash those magnets together. It takes energy to create that flying up. If I push two magnets that hate each other, like N56 magnets, and I force them together, I create a dangerous weapon. Because, you know, if I could lock them together, and if I can create a lock that unlocks them quickly, they'll fly apart with incredible energy. It's a lot of energy. Okay, they create guns out of this energy. It's so much energy. And so it's just, you know, they have a theory where they don't account for how that happens. They already know it doesn't come out of the magnet. They already know there's no energy being expended by the magnet. It's not burning any fuel. So they know the energy can't be in the magnet. The energy has to come from the outside. How can they not draw that conclusion? How do they miss that obvious conclusion? You know, I'm just saying. I'm, you know, isn't this deduction kind of just Columbo-esque? I'm not asking them to be as smart as Columbo, but you would think they would be as smart as Columbo, right? They're supposed to be scientists, supposed to be really thoughtful and do all this strangled thinking and modeling and controlling things and understanding things. This seems like, you know, an average detective could show up on this scene and put this together. You know, there's absolutely no evidence of this thing getting lighter. It's not burning any of its bits to create movement. Well, I have to explain that, okay? You just can't move for free. There's got to be something I'm not seeing, you know. And obviously, the something being on the outside makes a hell of a lot more sense than saying, oh, there's some sort of special bits that we don't know about inside the matter. No, we kind of know what's in the matter. We've taken it, we've broken it into little tiny pieces. We know what's in there. Nothing special. So, very few comments. You people, come on. I have to get slightly more popular so I can get a few more engaging bits in here. I mean, of course, I'll ignore you once there's too many of you, but you know, there is some sort of happy medium, I think, where, yeah, somebody could just listen to what I just said, and they should be able to say something like, you know, yeah, that's hard to argue with. You know, it's hard to, you know, when you put it that way, yeah, this seems like an obvious problem that physics should have been obligated to account for. There are the two major things. I mean, electromagnetism gives us the entire energy grid that we have. All the efficiencies we have of technology are all sort of based on this energy in magnets. And then you have this huge force of gravity. you know, which they call a weak force, but obviously it's a huge amount of energy. You know, it moves galaxies around and shit. It's a ton of energy. And so you have these two things doing this very energetic movement that are fundamental to our total existence. We're being pushed into the earth. You know, the pressure being created, the pressure at the bottom of the ocean, all of that pressure, just how much work it would, how many times you'd have to pump the tire pump to create the pressure at the bottom of the ocean. I mean, you'd have to pump for like 1,000,000 years with your little tire pump to create that pressure. You have to do a lot of work to create that pressure. Where's that energy coming from? I was thinking about your concept of force bits being redirected by matter bits in 90-degree angles. Some of the force bits, yes. Doesn't change in direction require energy? No, if it's an exchange. So that's the catch of it. So it's all about the color difference. So what you're really trying to figure out is this blue thing, okay, and this brown thing. And the real thing, though, is this is the energy of the circumstance. If this blue thing goes this way, it creates pressure. If it goes this way, you lose pressure in your system. And the trick is it all has to do with this exchange bit. So if this exchange bit hits, then this thing goes this way and this thing goes this way, and it doesn't reflect. So that's all it really comes down to. Now, if this is the same color and they hit this way, then you have the reflection. So it just really has to do with redirecting colors. And so it just really has to do with the fact that if these were both the same color, this interaction would be invisible to you. It would just be like they missed each other, right? Because all you're going to do is have one thing leave this way and one thing leave this way. Nothing's going to change from what went in, if you get my drift. But if they're a different color, then you can see the change. And it didn't consume any energy. This doesn't consume any energy in kinetics. So the change in direction is always free. The part that you have to pay for in terms of having a complexity of a system is the part where you have all the browns going this way and all the blues going this way to create the angles you're after. So the complexity is just in the filter's positions. So the filters all have to be in the right position to create the circumstance for the change you're looking for. But that's all it is. But it is a free change. It's a free exchange. So there's no energy required to change direction. Doesn't change in direction require energy? No. Where does the energy come from? So again, I'll just say it doesn't. It's comes from. It just the only thing that the part that makes it where you can see it as energy. So I'm just saying that if two things come into each other and two things leave, it's the same as if they missed each other. So you can see that there's absolutely no energy involved in the sense that the outcome is exactly the same. And so what I'm saying to you is that if I have them different colors, you'll see that it was a real change and it was free. Let's see, I remember learning from physics that even a mere change in direction counts as acceleration. Well, obviously on the nuclear physics level, the rules change. So it's like the magnetism between electrons is not inverse square law kind of stuff between two electrons, because the thing's bouncing directly between them. It's not spreading. So the electron doesn't go in here and then bounce out that way. You know, I mean, the photon that's between the electrons. So the rules just change a little bit. So yes, in our level, that's true because we're moving matter bits. But on the nuclear level, you're just moving electrons and protons, and their rules are subtly different. All right, I think I need to think more about your concept of matter itself. Maybe revisit older videos. Thanks. Yeah, well, the overview videos do go over it, but even the website has the drawings. I mean, the drawings are sort of speak for themselves kind of things. I should have the website here somewhere. The book. We'll chance that one. Yeah, that's the. Oh yeah, the message board. Oh, yeah, it gets spammed. It gets spammed to fuck. So I haven't paid much attention. I have to work on that. Yeah, no one participated much, so I kind of just ignored it. So yeah, I got to work on that. More button. So yeah, so I mean, these drawings really do kind of explain what I just said. Creating the energy traps and all of that kind of stuff, and you know, the idea of the black bit and it reflecting the black bits and absorbing the red bits and blah blah blah, and ping pong ball bouncing between, increasing pressure. And the fundamental drawing that just has it all here is, you know, the red goes out the black goes perpendicular out the red, and you create attraction, and you're off to the races. All right. Is there a Vlogerdome physics episode? Yes, there is. Yeah, it was 10 or 11. Can't remember. Oh, there's reliable, hiding in the background. Good old Amanda. Yes. Yeah, I should do a new physics Vlogerdome just for the fun of it, just because the theory is so much better than it was. Because I'm just really doing the pressure argument. I mean, from the external force argument, you know, but I don't have as much detail on some of these aspects. I'm not sure whether I just don't remember. Yeah, I don't know how advanced the theory was at the time I made the Vlogerdome episode. I've obviously dealt with a lot more issues since then and such. Yeah, so much to do. So in here I am doing this instead of the so much I should do. Yeah, I had to, you know, somebody's side view mirror got knocked off their car, and I had to glue it back on. You know, engineer a solution. It's obscene amount of money they want for side view mirror. You know, $250 for a side view mirror. It's silly. Yes, well, it probably, you know, it's time for us to do something. So soon I will try to. I just have to force myself to spend a certain hours a day on my creativity, my Eiffel creativity, and I'm just not doing it. So I have to write scripts and have to do some performance art and whatnot. And that's all good for. Yes, we just have to do more of that kind of crap. You know, I'm not doing it. I keep doing this shit. So much shit. And too much gardening shit this year. I really have spent an awful lot of time on my little stupid plants. Yeah, the other day that, you know, I had like, I don't know, 100 petunia plants, you know, that were out of the greenhouse in the sun, you know, in the yard. And a deer in the middle of the day, you know, walked into my yard and ate them. It's just like, you know, it's just so annoying. You just spend 2 months growing these little plants and you just have some fucking deer just chomp them all down to little stalks in a day. So, yeah, I've had 3 deer attacks this year. You know, they've just gotten getting more and more aggressive. I mean, the one time they just knocked the whole fence down. They just, fuck it, you know, just knocked it over. Is the new Mission Impossible movie any good? I would imagine it can't be, but whatever. I mean, the villains they keep creating are just so preposterous nowadays that it's all kind of unbelievable. Some of the James Bond ones were reasonable, but some of them you're just saying that will never happen. It's just not a good enough mission. And that deer didn't give a physics. I don't know what that means, but clearly the deer knew some physics. I'm heavier than this net, so I'll just sit on it. Well, the fact that, yes, nobody can, of all these movies, isn't everybody sick of the 5 million bullets fired and none of them hit anyone bullshit? I'm just so sick of, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like even the Matrix movie, they go through all this karate shit and then the guy shows up with a gun. It's like, why are you bothering with all this karate shit then? If you have guns in this Matrix, then why isn't everybody just shooting the shit out of each other? Why are they fucking around doing karate? Did you know you can control the amount of air? Yes, of course. I mean, you really do ask some incredibly stupid questions. I mean, really, do you think I've been vaping for 7 years and you think I don't know there's a little hole here that the air comes in? I mean, 7 years experience, and you think I don't know how to regulate the airflow? Oh, man. It was error codes. Look, see, it has a little LCD screen. So it has a little software running. And so it reads how many ohms. And so it reads 1 minute, it reads 1.6 ohms, and then it works. And the next minute it reads 4 ohms, and it says, fuck you, you can't use it. And then it reads 0 ohms and says, yo, fuck you, you can't use it. But it doesn't rationally read ohms. This is problem. And there's no override. So once it errors, you can't just say, you have the ohms wrong. Fuck you. But yes, I have it. Look, the old one still is better. See, it's bigger tank. The coil is further away, so it's a bit smoother. This coil, it's got 6 coils in it, this one. 6 coils. I mean, I don't need 6 coils. So, and it's short and hot as hell, and yeah, it just sucks. And then you end up drinking the nicotine, which makes you sick. Even with a wider mouthpiece. So just keep thinking I'm an idiot. Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that you think I'm an idiot. And I didn't check whether the radio is plugged in. I didn't check the obvious problems. Thank you for presuming I'm an idiot. You stupid cunt. God. Amazing. You don't get punched in the face every day. I mean, you go through your life doing this, right? Just being an obnoxious know-it-all that doesn't know very much. Nobody punches you in the face. Maybe the next edit of the F list, I do Romeo and Juliet. Yes, it's really not a very good story. Yes. Well, I like the thought I hadn't had before was the scene in the movie where the guy's, like I said, he's singing this very sad song about how the rose fades and dies, and it's actually the backdrop for I gotta fuck this bitch, which is just kind of funny. I mean, the very, it's just a perfect opposite circumstance. Life is going to kill you. with tragedy, watching your rose die. And here you are, I gotta fuck the rose. Yeah. Yeah, whatever, Jawan. There's no add marijuana to the vape, and it stays on instead. Yeah. These people, their drug lore. I have to put marijuana into every subject in the universe. Well, I'm just saying you can't logically deduce that asking me whether did you plug it in, did you did you turn on the on button? I mean, you're not insulting my intelligence. Come on. Yes, I don't do as many Inmendum videos as I used to, and I feel bad about that. But the ones I do have been pretty good. you know. Yeah, I don't do flavors. I'm not doing vape to make clouds. I'm a nicotine addict. I'm just looking to get nicotine into my brain in some kind of pleasant way. I mean, rubbing it on your nutsack does work, you know, but it's just not practical. Hey man, I'm human. Not all of us are at the same level, and this difference of skill sets have helped us survive so long. So bear me too. You're not really. You're doing exactly that though. You're surviving. You're surviving like a possum survives. Possums don't thrive. They just survive. And that's not good enough. The human race is a pigsty. The piglets are born in shit. It's disgusting. Okay. It's not a success story. It's a preposterous failure story. Even if I thought there was some merit to the existence of these maggots, we're really bad maggots. We don't even do maggot well. Anyway, it's not on the subject. I really would like physics rooms to be physics and such. Really would. Yes, it's my preference. Be more practical. Do the physics in the physics room. Do the philosophy in the philosophy room. What you want me to do? I don't know. Invent a light engine? No, it's not going to happen, but whatever. No, thank you. I'm happy in my earth. Well, fine, whatever. Whatever. I wasn't expecting brilliance from Pakistan, so, frankly, you're an idiot. There, how's that? You're an idiot. There. Are we done now? Eesh. I wasn't suggesting you make a pigsty on some other planet. Okay, the point I'm making is the human organism is a pretty shitty organism. Okay, it's not tigers. It's ugly, smelly, and the only way it's won the war, so to speak, is by creating nuclear weapons and AK-47s and all kinds of other cheaties. So it cheats in the battle. Do I give a shit? Yes, Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and that's supposed to say to me, oh, that makes sense. That's really good. Nuclear weapons in the hands of religious kooks. Oh, how special. No, that sucks. That's one of the evidences of the pigsty. That's how you know you're in a pigsty, is when idiots have nuclear weapons. Oh, Jesus. People are just so stupid. Such a problem talking to the stupid. This is the real dilemma. How to educate the profoundly stupid. Yeah. You know, you can't, it's very difficult to literate people that don't have any rational skills. All right, so I'll give you the countdown. Physics question or else. Physics question related to action at a distance. Now, there is no action at a distance. You merely take an action and move it a distance. And then you have a reaction to the action. There's no action at a distance. Well, America supplied us with the machinery. So thank you, America. Americans will sell their mothers for $1 million in bribes, and we Pakistanis knew who to bribe in the U.S. Well, that's not even true. Pakistan got its technology from the Russians, not the United States. You want me to just block you? I will. I really don't want to talk about Pakistan or philosophy. I've sort of made that clear, and you're just being a belligerent fuckhead. I mean, yes, you can. Maybe you'll be able to make a nuclear nose picker. You want to just keep asking dumb questions. The word hoverboard doesn't even mean anything. Do you mean an anti-gravity board? You know, because hoverboards can exist in the sense that you can create mechanisms that, like float on air. But they already have hoverboards in the sense that if you put enough electricity into it and you have a paramagnetic material you're hovering above, you can make a hoverboard. But it doesn't give it speed, so you have to create an engine to produce motion. And if you make one that does have motion built into it, it's really expensive because you have to energize the entire function. And so, yeah, it's a practical matter. Yeah, they already have hoverboards. Will they have really efficient hoverboards? No. When are you going to do the next live and such? So it's just people. I don't know. If I knew, then I'd have a schedule and I'd post it. Hey, I'll be making a video 12 o'clock tomorrow. I just don't like scheduling to see. I sort of live at other people's whim. So I really can't do the, oh yes, I'll do a room at 12 o'clock tomorrow, because I might have to do something at 12 o'clock tomorrow, and so I can't do the room. So I just don't like scheduling. How come the strengths of gravity don't change when one moves into a build which would block the flow of matter bits? Again, you're just amazingly stupid. The matter bits don't flow, the force bits do. You can't block them because they interact with every bit of matter. Obviously, they're interacting with the building. It's just the building doesn't have enough mass to create enough gravity to move you up to the ceiling. It's not enough mass difference. Now, if you made the roof of the building as big as the moon, okay, then the two competing gravities would be competing with each other, and you'd actually be able to transition from, you could jump and you would escape the Earth's gravity, go into a neutral zone, and then if you jumped high enough, you would get into the trap of the moon's gravity and could smash your head right into it. Yeah. So it's just a mass equation. So thank you for asking a question, but it's an incredibly stupid question. Yeah, not even typed very well. Move into a build. Building. Got to understand, the matter bits don't flow. Force bits move. Matter bits, not so much until the force bits hit them. Moon has a gravity question mark. Of course it does, yes. No, it's 60% of the Earth's gravity. So the gravity on the moon is 60% of the Earth's gravity. So it's less, it's cut in almost half. So you can jump twice as high. So it's kind of nice. And there's no atmosphere. So if I drop two things like this heavy atomizer and this very light pen, they'll both fall at exactly the same speed because there's no air resistance. But yes, the moon has gravity. Every material object has gravity. It's just that if it has very little mass, it's producing less effect. It's less of a filter. See, you're affected by other things' gravity. I'm affected by the Earth's gravity, but I myself produce my own gravity. The gravity I produce is different than the gravity I'm affected by. So moon might be hollow. I don't know. Like I said, are you joking? Is this just some joke account you have? The moon can't have gravity if it's hollow, because then it wouldn't weigh enough to have gravity. It has 60% of the Earth's gravity. Unless you made the outside of the moon, if you made the outside to be hollow, in any amount of hollow, it means the outside of the moon would have to be made out of super dense materials for there to be 60% of the Earth's gravity on the surface. So you couldn't make enough gravity if you made the moon hollow. And then you'd have the problem of, if it's hollow, the fact is that there's still a ton of pressure moving towards the hollowness. So you're going to have the problem of it wanting to collapse. The external pressure would be, the external pressure wants to crush everything like a tin can at the bottom. So if I take this bottle and put a cap on it with air in it, and I push it all the way to the bottom of the ocean, the bottle will explode. Okay, because it's going to implode. So the bottle doesn't explode. What happens is the bottle gets crushed. The glass cracks and breaks from the pressure on the outside. So making a hollow moon out of a dense enough material, the density of the material would create enough gravity internally to crush the moon and force it into a solid ball. So you really couldn't make a hollow moon unless you created fake matter that was stronger than any matter known to mankind. crack moon. Okay, I don't know. So so cracked moon. I mean, I know there's probably some language shit here, but I'm just saying your commenting is kind of rubbishy. I'm not liking it. Sorry, feed is having an issue. I don't think the feed is having an issue. You're having an issue with your inferior Pakistan technology you stole from the Russians. So we are nearing the point of my surrender. So if anybody else doesn't have anything, then we will conclude for the evening and such. I do try, but you know, I can only do my part here. Do you think a fixed mass can have different gravity by varying its shape? Well, I think that was already just demonstrated. So the Japanese sent a probe up to look at some asteroids, and they're measuring very irregular gravity. And they're measuring irregular gravity because the surface of the asteroid isn't big enough to create spherical symmetry. That is, it isn't big enough to crush. So it hasn't gone circular yet. So it has an odd shape. And the odd shape produces different densities in different locations, different densities of atomic weight. And so obviously the gravity on those different locations is different because it's filtering a different amount of the force. So it's clearly a light bulb that has a varying amount of light. So until it goes spherical, it doesn't produce light like a light bulb. So when it's an irregular shape, it's like an irregular shaped light bulb, if you can imagine that. There's little bright spots and little duller spots and then bright spots and duller spots. I think that's a very good answer. Yeah, the inverse square law only works in spherical symmetric circumstances. Without symmetry, it doesn't work. Well, it works in a sense, but obviously you have to understand that it's not going to be symmetrical because the starting force is weaker in different locations. Listen, even Einstein knew the importance of human relationship. I'm not going to listen to this crap, so you're just fuck off. So please get your head out of whatever. Okay, we're done then. Goodbye. I didn't like you from the beginning, so I don't have to listen to this bullshit. You can't respond to a physics argument with a physics argument, then just fuck off. Jesus. I understand you as saying that shape irregularity produces gravity irregularity. And yes, it's an obvious representation of a change in the amount of matter between you and the other side of the object. But can you decrease the net gravity by changing shape? In different locations, yes. Well, the net gravity you can't change. Of course not. You can't make the light bulb make more light by changing how the light comes out of the bulb. So, yeah, you're not destroying any of the light, and you can't add more light. So obviously the net gravity has to be the same. But if you were walking on an irregular surface, you would feel irregular amounts of gravity. Which kind of illustrates the fact that the gravity is not being made in the center of the Earth, right? Kind of points out how it has nothing to do with the center. It has everything to do with the diameter. kind of a big mistake physics makes. I mean, this is another one that hit me when I was a kid, because I was always thinking in terms of diameters, and physics was always talking about radiuses. And I kept thinking to myself, well, why do you keep doing this half of the thing? Why do you keep cutting everything in half? You know, because my brain said the diameter is the important part. And it's like even pi, you know, understanding the relationship between pi and the circumference of the circle and all that kind of crap. It was always kind of a diameter equation for me. And it's, you know, the relationship just seems obvious that it has to do with the diameter. And, you know, and yes, mathematically it works using the radius, but you could make it work with diameter. So it's just their preference to turn everything into radiuses that means that's their standard. But you could write the same formulas and use diameter instead. Sideshow Bob. I don't even barely remember who Sideshow Bob was. Who the fuck was Sideshow Bob? Let's see. Yeah, I can't. That was a character from, oh, The Simpsons, right? Yeah, Sideshow Bob, the Simpsons character. Yeah, barely remember. Great, great. Yeah, you've totally debunked me with insanely stupid rubbish. Way to go, faggot. Yeah, how's that? Way to go, limpy dicky. Yeah, you have a limpy dick. And you call yourself Glenn Beck. I mean, it's just so gross. So what are you, fat and stupid? Yeah, wow. I'll just call myself fat and stupid, and then I'll make stupid comments. Gee, how predictable. Oh, fuck you. Is all of reality made up of energy and mass? It's force, not energy. So yes, reality is made up of force bits and matter bits. That's all there are. Bits. They can be little square bits, little round bits, doesn't matter. They're little bits, little things separated by emptiness. So little bit, little force bits, little things moving very fast, speed of light. And the other things are these matter bits, bigger things, and they don't have no innate movement. They have to be pushed everywhere they go. And that's all there are. Let's see. Hi, Gary. Oh my God, you look so good in that shirt. I look good in everything. It's frankly, every color is my color. But anyway, yeah, no, it's not really the best blue for me, but anyway. Does consciousness have anything to do with force and mass existence? Well, obviously the existence of matter doing this complex arrangement thing has to do with consciousness, because consciousness is basically just an illusion. It's being generated by a synthetic mechanism of arrangement, just electricity moving through strings of biology. And it's created this fake screen projecting a reality for us to look at in our brain. And it's created a fake us sitting there watching the screen. And it's really quite an amazing illusion, but it's all just bullshit. I mean, it's substantially meaningful bullshit, but I just mean it's just made out of, just as we aren't alive, right? Our cells are little living animals. Us is a colony of living animals. We're not really alive. Our cells are alive. We're not alive. You know. Consciousness is the same thing. It's an emerging property. It emerges out of the existing condition, just as our as a colony of cells, you know, our biological function emerges out of that. But none of the cells know they're part of this machine. they're just doing their little eking out. They're eating grass. They're doing their little cow thing, and they don't know that all the herds of cows are somehow making a bigger organism. But consciousness really isn't a physics subject, I don't think. I mean, clearly a byproduct of the mechanics of the universe, but we're just dishwashers. We're just machines. And so we just happen to be biological machines. Well, I appreciate you finding this interesting, and we'll see. I'm a snarky son of a bitch, so just got to be careful of how dumb a question you ask. That's all. I'm pretty intolerant. But check out the overview videos to get a gist of what I'm talking about. And then even the question videos to see how they don't really have any answers. I mean, they have fundamental problems with their physics, and yet they don't have to account for any of them ever. They can just say crap, and they don't have to account for the fact that it's wrong. Okay, come on, people. Say something. I have to leave. It's the rules. Something about action at a distance, which doesn't exist, and I've clearly explained why it doesn't exist. And so, yeah, it's no problem. Nobody calls turning on a flashlight action at a distance. And everything that appears to be action at a distance isn't any more complicated than turning on the flashlight. Oh, I just remember who Sideshow Bob was. It was Homie the Clown, or whatever the clown was called, Chuckles or something. It was his sidekick, right? Yeah, that was Sideshow Bob, yeah. Yeah, he was always just getting shot out of cannons or something. He was just the loser. But I think he was a schemer. He was a mass murderer in one episode or something. I don't know. He was kind of a maniacal character. Yes, Krusty. That's it. Yeah, it's really funny how I have, once I started doing this physics thing, I didn't watch much television. I haven't had a TV in the house for 10 years. And I didn't watch much television, but I still watched, online. I'd watch The Simpsons or South Park, especially. And since I started doing this physics shit, I haven't watched any of that shit anymore. I mean, I really don't spend I spend all my free time watching physics shit. It's funny how my life has radically, in some respects, not radically, that has changed. Krusty with a K. Yeah, that's probably correct. I don't remember how they spelled Krusty. Krusty was the clown. I don't know why you would say that. That's what I said, right? Krusty the Clown had a sidekick. I said whatever his name is, Bozo or whatever, had a sidekick who was Sideshow Bob. That's what I said. So, yes, I got it. Krusty was the clown. Yes, I know that. So again, Benjamin, you just keep trying to find a way. Can I possibly insult Gary's intelligence some more? Just left a flat earth chat. Well, why do you bother with that? But they claim that there's no way to prove the earth is a globe. Well, of course there are, and that it's spinning or moving. Well, of course it's already been proven over and over again. I wonder how they think GPS takes place. Is there a name for the group of equations to prove this? Well, it's not equations, it's experiments. I mean, the inverse square law proves it's not flat. So if you want a fact of the reality, the inverse square law wouldn't be true if the world was flat. So it's a silly notion. It's insanely stupid. None of the equations work with a flat Earth. Gravity doesn't work. Nothing works. So I'm just letting you know that it's basically saying that all the mathematics created since Newton is garbage. So, it's a waste of your time, frankly. I mean, you really should try to not waste your time in life. And listening to flat Earth theory is just saying, I'm going to masturbate without a boner. I mean, it's just wasting your time. I was telling Forever how it's spelled. Well, again, you were being, you could just say, K, and then separate Rusty. And then she would have got, oh, okay, it's car Rusty. Okay, I got it. Like it's important, which it incredibly isn't. So again, you really are just showing that you're not like some cool guy that wears sunglasses. You're like some pocket protector, for all your thermometers that you like to stick up your ass all day. I mean, you're just proving that you're incredibly anal and insanely indelicate. You probably have one of those conditions. You're probably all Aspergery, and you can't figure out that you're insulting the fuck out of somebody's intelligence when you do this. Oh, I'm going to spell it precisely for you, okay? Because I'm an anal fuck. I mean, I did that with like matter. I always, I don't give a shit about spelling. So I spelled matter, M-A-T-E-R. Oh, it's not matter. It's not, matter is mattery. Matter. It's not matter. Matter. Fuck you. Still dead. I just hate the spelling police. They're a huge waste of a career, right? Go around being the spelling police. It's just saying, I want to be a hall monitor. It's just, fuck you. You just want to be a fucking cunt. Skankier the better. So when you explain how the Earth was basically pushing upward with 1g of force, this applies to everything outside our atmosphere. Everything outside of our atmosphere as well, I'm assuming. No, because it's everything outside of our atmosphere is in free fall. It's not being stopped. Okay, so it can't convert gravity into chemical pressure because it's not interacting with other matter. So you can only matter can push back. Only matter can convert force. Force can't interact with force. Force can only interact with matter. So if you want to push a force against another force, you have to do it through a matter bit. You have to push the matter bits into each other to have a force affect a force. If you put something outside our, the simple answer is if you put something outside our atmosphere, it falls towards the earth. It moves. It doesn't sit here like this. I'm just sitting here, nothing holding me up. No, that won't happen. So the only way you can stop falling from falling down is you have to have velocity. So you have to have the, whatever it is, I don't know how many, 20,000 miles an hour or something you have to go to stay in orbit, something like that. No long ago, I thought I was hooked. I thought I looked like a douche because of the sunglasses. And so everything I ever say is interpreted in that light. Yes, that's right. I thought that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There is some profiling that's perfectly rational. I'm just saying, yes, sunglasses is an indication of a used car salesman. That's what sunglasses are an indication of. Somebody hiding, all right, and being glib. So I'm just saying, the two go together all over the place. It's like 90% of the time, it's a reliable way of predicting something. Here's my last one. I don't know what that is. Force play centrifugal. Oh, he's spelling it correctly. Yeah. Force play any role in weight on Earth. Well, there's no such thing as any centrifugal force. So centrifugal. They're not real forces. They're obviously forces of just momentum in collections of matter. So it's not a real force in the first place. Would a non-rotating Earth make us feel heavier? Obviously, the rotation speed is much too slow for us to feel it. So that's part of the problem. I mean, 24-hour day kind of thing. It's just not fast enough for us to feel the effect. And also, so it just has to do with the fact that it constantly changes your directional vector. So when you're being forced to rotate, either I tie a string to you or I have the force of gravity force you on a spherical ball and I spin it. All you're doing is saying your acceleration vector is constantly changing. And it's that constant change that you're feeling. You don't, once you have velocity, you don't feel the velocity. It's the acceleration that you feel. So an acceleration is always, a change of direction is a change in acceleration. So your velocity is being converted into an acceleration. That's why you feel it, because everything has to change inside of you. All the atoms have to turn and everything has to be fucked with. I guess I'm asking more, let's say Jupiter, for example. Is it also receiving 1g of force? Well, clearly the g's of force to overcome gravity change as you get further away. Let's see how to put that. So you're just synthesizing. We're measuring how much gravity's forces on the surface of the Earth, and we're using that number as a number in different examples. But the number doesn't, it just has to do with an amount of force. Obviously, using 1g of force in free space will move you a lot faster than it's going to move you when you're on the surface of the Earth. So when you have some other force fighting the 1g, so 1g just represents an amount of acceleration, 10 meters per second per second. So it's just telling you how fast you're gaining velocity. It's not telling you what circumstance you're in. So it's not telling you how thick the medium is, so to speak, technically. Metaphorically. It's not telling you how thick the other force is. It's just telling you how much pressure you're applying to it. So it's a certain amount of pressure in a direction, 10 meters per second. And if there's no counteracting force, then 10 meters per second will add up to a lot more than if there's another force pushing you 5 meters per second in the opposite direction. So if nothing other force is acting on you, then 1G will always be consistent. But as soon as there's another force acting on you, the 1G will change how much velocity you gain. Your net gain will be different depending on how much force you're plowing through. All right, thanks for the answers. Look forward to watching these in the future. Okay. You were so angry when you realized she didn't want to have sex with you. This is from Troll Master. Who didn't want to have sex with me? Just sorry, it didn't occur to me that somebody didn't want to have sex with me. Who could have that been? There was one girl who didn't want to have sex with me. I mean, she, actually said, "I'll never have sex," and then she actually, started, and she started to look fondly on the prospect. So that's kind of funny. I explain why I need sunglasses. It's okay. You don't need to put them in your icon. I'm just saying clearly you could have an icon where you're not wearing sunglasses. I'm just saying that was your choice. Just please cut it out. No, you cut it out. I don't know what you want from me. All right. I mean, you have insulted my intelligence. You have acted like an obstinate Khalib motherfucker. These are just facts. So, I can't help that you smell, so to speak. You have a smell. I'm just pointing out the smell I'm smelling, and then you're complaining. Well, I'm sorry, but you're the one who brought it up. Would you stand for it if I brought up your hair? Well, like I said, my hair is completely not objectively evil in any way whatsoever. It has absolutely no negative components in any objective, rational way. So it's entirely subjective. It has nothing to do with my demonstration to you or how I could prove to you that the people who have an icon wearing sunglasses on YouTube are predominantly assholes. I mean, I think, just think about it. You know that's the truth. So don't give me this stupid argument. Whereas my hair, like I said, there's no evidence that this is bad hair. This is pretty cool hair. Lots of millionaires have had hair like this. People have been very famous for even having hair like this. This is good hair, not bad hair. Very good hair. And it also gets people laid. So it's, good for that too. Girls don't object to my hair. Never had a girl say, cut your hair. Never happened. Or whatever, and how I treat you. So again, it's fine. You can, if you have some objectively reasonable complaint about my performance, I can accept that. But it has to have some sense of being reasonable or rational as an objection. So yes, there's no point in bringing up things I can't change. The things I can change are the stuff you bring up, and the things that are relevant you bring up. I'm just pointing out how your personality is a little bit obnoxious. That's all. It's off-putting. It's irritating. And look, in this comment section, I'm just saying it's sort of an objective fact that you have insulted my intelligence numerous times. Have you ever turned a doorknob? I mean, you've asked incredibly stupid questions. All right. You're just a pseudo cult leader. Well, we'll just get rid of you then. You're just wasting my time. I'm not even going to read it. This is rubbish. Just a waste of time. Just go away, silly fuck. Makes one comment just to be blocked. LOL. Yes. Okay, sorry too. I don't know what that means either, but fine. Yeah, so we're caught up. I didn't have to bother reading the Troll Master. oh, this, like I said, here I am making an argument the human race needs to be just fucking put out of its misery because it's too fucking stupid, dirty, smelling, ignorant, retarded, crappy, unethical, indecent, foul. And they just prove it for me. They just sit there and say, here, you need some more evidence? Here's some more evidence that you're right. Yeah, it's amazing. All right, so I think now we'll just say it's time to go. Let's see, those were prime examples. Yes, Gary, I was only trying to help. Again, I'm not asking for help, so whatever. I didn't realize my tank had that piece on the bottom when I first bought mine until again, so you're assuming I was as stupid as you. So again, it's because I didn't realize it. I think everybody else would be an idiot and not realize it when it's like an obvious feature that when you're pulling on it, you're saying, how's the air get in this thing? It's like an obvious thing to look for, from my perspective. I mean, it's one of the, even when they had the old stick kind, I mean, you always said, where's the air go in? And you kind of knew, oh, don't put your fingers around that part because that's where the air comes in. Yes, I understand you didn't mean to offend me. I already made that clear, didn't I? I even gave you the concession that maybe you have Asperger's or something and your brain doesn't quite pick up on this. So that's okay. Just it doesn't change the fact that you're irritating, okay? So I'm sorry. You're a little bit irritating. I want to have a good relation with you. Well, we don't have to have good beyond the fact that we're reasonably honest with each other, and that's all I'm being. I'm just being honest. That's all. Just giving you an honest critique. I don't have any motive to hurt your feelings. It's not my objective. I'm just letting you know that if you interact with me in certain ways, like say you have a mouthful of tomato and you start talking and you're throwing little tomato bits at me, I might say, oh yeah, what you're saying is really interesting, but fuck you, I don't want the tomato bits on my face. Now, I'm not saying it's as bad as that. I'm just using that as an example, just to point out that like you have bad breath or something. It's just a little bit, you antagonize me as you are interacting with me. And I react to the antagonism laced in your little typers. That's all. Not a big deal. Did I say it was catastrophic? Have I threatened to block you lately? No. I get it. Okay. I get it. I'm just letting you know. It would be dishonest for me to pretend I didn't find it irritating. Yes, well, if I blocked you on my other channel, I'm sure you know what comment got you blocked. So look it over and you'll figure out how, I shouldn't have said that way. That was really stupid. You'll probably be able to see the part where you spit tomatoes in my face. I think when you block somebody in these chats, it doesn't have anything to do with the channel itself. So I think you're still able to comment in regular videos and stuff. And I'm not even sure when I block you in this chat thing whether it even lasts. Like it might wear off in a week. I don't know. I don't know what the blah blahs of it are. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't make it very easy just to unblock everybody and start over. So I'll have to see how difficult that is. They don't fix things like that. It's like you have to go through page after page of, blocked lists to, and individually unblock people. It's just too much trouble. What is your other channel? Oh my God. It's in Mendham. So good luck finding it. So INMENDHAM. In Mendham. I guess somebody should type it. Maybe I can type it. Sure, somebody else can type it faster than me. So somebody else should type it faster than me. Or they could post a link, right? Oh, I'm in top chat. I should be in. I got to remember to change it to live chat. Yeah, live chat lets people post links. Okay. Got to remember that. So many things to do. It's just so much work. Ugh, so irritating. Remember this. Got to remember that. Go get this button. You got to do that. Got to turn. You got to. It's just. Irritating. The new update is ass. Yeah, well, eBay just did an update. It's ass also. They changed your watch list and shit. Put giant net. They increased the ad space. They doubled the ad space on the page. And, sign of desperation. And, they have all this stuff like where you can just hit the buy it now. Lots of things to just trap you into making a mistake. Let's see how many mistakes people can make. Let's increase the likelihood of a misclick. Yeah, it's just so irritating. So, are there any physicists or other people you enjoy watching? No, it's all irritation. There's nothing but irritation on planet Earth. Every fucking thing I watch irritates me. Or halfway agree with, LOL. Yeah, see, there just really isn't anything. It's just all disagreeable shit. I mostly watch your videos to learn more, but just looking for some references or maybe others to learn from. Yeah, I wish there were such things, but there are a few other people that have said a decent sentence or two, but there's so much crap tied to everything, It's like... It's kind of funny that Mark Twain was quite anti-natalist, but he never talked about it. So there's just a few really good quotes where he points out how life is preposterously silly, but everything else he writes doesn't really have anything to do with that, which is sort of annoying. And so there's lots of authors who are dark and cynical about humans and human civilization, but they just type a monstrous pile of crap that it's all layered in. So there's just no hope. That doesn't look like my channel. They don't let you post the whole link. You should be able to post the whole link. Why don't you just try posting a whole link? Because you should be able to do it now. Not anymore. Oh, well, that's no point in being in live chat if they already get rid of that. I mean, shit, that's the only point in having live chat, right? What the fuck? Why would they deny me the right to let people post links? It's just so obnoxious. It says all messages are visible, but yeah, they don't let you do links, huh? Well, that sucks. I guess I can post links, and moderators can post links. It's just too stupid. Yes, well, she lived in actually the other Mendham. There's two Mendhams, Mendham Borough and Mendham Township. They're both little towns, 5,000 each. And she actually lived. There's a farm across the street from where I live, and if you go like 20 acres across their farm, like trespass across their farm, I would be in Whitney Houston's backyard. So it was like by the crow flies, it was only like a mile away, 2 miles maybe. But it was funny when she got married. It was kind of a fun day. I was selling shit on the road, some artwork and crap. And all these limos just kept going down the road, just limo after limo after limo, and they're just preposterously long ones, white ones, red ones, black ones. all with the dark windows, of course. Can't see into any of these cars. But there must have been fucking 200 of them that went down the street. I was a little disappointed because I just figured here I am standing on the road and all these famous people driving by, and you'd think they would notice me, say, hey, look at that guy, and stop and say hi. Now let me sell them a lemonade or something. But no one stopped. Well, I can give you superpowers, I think. Let's see. Let's see. I can give Forever Will Film superpowers. Add moderator. Pow. You now have superpowers. I'll give Elvis superpowers too, since he, has been Betty good to me. Superpowers coming up. Superpowers. Yeah. You have to get costumes now. You have the magic wrench. Now only Piro had the magic wrench. Now other people have the magic wrench. Oh, you don't have to be responsible. There's no what I might lose one of these valuable commenters. Oh, what a tragedy. Yeah, not really. Yeah, I think I'll give the Venus Penis girl, I'll give her a wrench too, just because, she's trying to be nice. Can't get to the wrench power. Wrench power. There you go. You now have wrench power. You now wrench their nuts. Yeah, so I should learn how to do I mean, I can technically do videos on my tablet and stuff, and I really haven't played with that enough. But I should become handy capable. I should figure out how to do this on a minimum, just in case everything falls to shit, and I have to become a tablet interactor. Yeah, I have another video card I can put on this one computer. I want to try it and see if I get a little bit more juice out of it. I mean, I kind of like the style of these videos, actually. I mean, the background of the screen kind of works, and I just have to find some good Linux programs for drawing and stuff. And so this really sort of does work. I mean, it's frankly not a bad way to do videos. Frankly, mostly. Substantially. Yeah, it still works. So yeah, I sort of like it. Not a bad. It's not technically pitiful. I just have to come up with more animations and stuff happening, more movement and whatnot. Look at that. We have a link. Let's see if it's actually an active link. Oh, it still isn't active. You can't click on it. What a ripoff. I mean, geez. YouTube is such a cunt. But at least it's a whole link. So. Coriolis effect. What is that, like colitis? I don't remember what it is actually, so I can't answer that. I'm not a flat earther, but I don't understand how I never see anyone argue against it. Wouldn't that alone prove the earth is rotating? So yeah, I don't know what the Coriolis effect is. I don't. You have to jar my memory. I take notes constantly. Yes, that's what I do. Well, not constantly, but they're shitty notes. I want to organize it into something coherent eventually. Yes, likewise. I need a keyboard to help transcribe some of your videos. Yes, well, the technology is getting so good now that you can almost have a piece of software do it. When they shoot a bullet in ether direction, for example, in ether. Yeah, I still don't understand what that means, but why would a flat earth be different than a round earth when it comes to shooting bullets? I mean, the bullet fired and it falls at a certain rate. I guess in the round earth, it falls longer, it takes a longer time to fall because the earth keeps moving away from it. So yes, that's kind of obvious. Well, I'm just saying, I don't really want to get into the fact that the answers, the counter arguments against the flat earth are so numerous and so obvious and so abundant that why should anybody even have to argue them? And then you have all the evidence of our technology. Like I said, they're assuming a huge amount, an insane conspiracy that everybody involved in the space program was a liar, every single one of them. I mean, it's just an insane kind of bullshit. Oh, there, it works now. So what did you do different? Just so we know for the future use. Yes, you have to explain what you did different. You added text. Maybe the text makes the link work. So if you don't have text, the link won't work. Sorry, waiting for the explanation. It says, first time I tried it with my phone, second time copy and pasting it on my laptop. Ah, okay, so your phone sucks. Got it. Your phone did something wrong. Okay. Or maybe it only likes copy and pasting. So anyway, so I guess we have now dragged this out to more than enough, probably. It really wasn't horribly substantive conversation, but we did a lot of wrench making, and now we have link of possibilities for some people. Does it only allow links within YouTube? Well, something like that. Oh, it's that Kevorkian kick, Ian, whoever that is. Got like a cute girl icon, but I'm presuming it's not a cute girl. Yeah, probably some hairy guy with a cute girl icon. No, it's me, thanks. Yeah, well, yeah, sure it is. Yeah, I trust you. Yeah. Internet people are so honest. But it is true that I am distracted by such things, so I shouldn't even be paying attention, but I sort of do. Anyway, it's time to go, I think. Yeah, I think so. How long have I been in here? Good question. Let's try. And then, yeah, that one works. It's the capital H that makes it. Oh, I didn't realize she had a capital H. Yeah, that'll fuck it. Yep. Okay. Good catch. Yeah, I didn't realize the first link. Let me go back and look. She typed a capital H. That'll fuck it. Oh, yeah. Capital H. Quite obvious. There you go. Yep. Got to get them capitals correct. So, problem solved. It's just happened to be a Forever with Film feature. One of her features. Yes. She spells crusty wrong and she capital H's on links. I suppose that's just a habit with you people who do a lot of typing. I, as a non-typer, don't have any such instinct. Ah, Mr. Natural. Hello and such. Oh, you're the one that caught the mistake. Yeah, I should have noticed that. Very good of you. Brain's still working well. We should argue physics sometime. Yeah. Have you talked to Roseanne since her little fuck up? I guess he's got a job with like Fox News or something now, but that was a funny whoops, a little whoops moment. Well, at least, like I said, it's nice to have a comeback and all that stuff. So it probably was becoming too much work anyway. So in a way, I could see Roseanne saying, no, it couldn't have worked out better because I didn't want to do this show forever either. I bet a lot of successful shows, people were like that. Like, I want to leave, but yeah, I can't, So I'll look like the bad guy. So I'll hang around, even though I don't want to do this show anymore. But it's not a physics subject, so I'm violating my own rules. All right, so let's see, anything else? So the subject was action at a distance. We figured out that the action at a distance always just involves some invisible bits, little bits that we can't see, traveling the distance. And that's the action. It's not a surprise. It's just an invisible flashlight. Let's see. We'll be back with a new name, the Connors. So, yeah, well, I guess you could sell anything to anybody now. So nobody owns anything. I mean, everything's owned by outside production companies. So the networks that run shows don't own the shows. So, but yeah. Yeah, I didn't watch any of it, so I don't have any idea whether it was rubbish or not. Yeah, so it's kind of funny, right? Same cast minus Roseanne. Just yeah, we have a portrait of her on the wall, and we just talk to that, so it'll work out fine. I heard they were bringing back Frasier or something. I'm saying, yeah, without the father, so they just put a picture of the father on the wall, and then Frasier can just talk to the picture, and yeah, it just is good. Don't really need an actor or anything. Just make the show simple. Anyway, I guess that's good enough. So thank you and such to the people that are worthy of being thanked. And I'll give Mr. Natural a wrench. Since I gave everybody else a wrench, I have to give him one. Yeah, there he goes. Okay, wrenchified. Superpower enabled. Oh, yes, eventually. I'll have nobody in the chat except for wrenchers. And they'll be trying to wrench each other and find out their powers don't work. I can't wrench that other fucker wrencher guy. How do I get rid of that wrencher guy? Problems I'll never have to worry about. I will never be a poster with wrenches, or even without wrenches. I don't think I've ever. Well, I guess I have. I don't know if I've. I must have said something in some chat room somewhere once, but I don't have any recollection of it immediately. But I must have done it. I'm live now on Thursday night at 7. Oh, okay. Well, I should know that. On your regular channel or on Mr. Natural channel? Maybe that's the problem. I have to go to the Mr. Natural channel, maybe. I don't remember you being live. How come I can't click on your icon? Strange. Doesn't work. Huh. Well, I'll have to figure it out. I think I can do it. I think I can figure it out. Oh, I think you have to click this shithead thing. Go to channel. Yeah, it's always some trick. Oh, freaking internet's just covered with tricks.
Mind framing?
Yeah.
Metronomes and frames?
All right. Yeah, so I'll subscribe here.
Behind us is you.
There's no there's a subscribe button.
Hello,
Okay.
YouTube. Welcome to
Hi.
Mr. Natural's Music School
Yes.
here in California, San Francisco, Haight-Ashbury District. Welcome.
Let's see.
to our live
I guess
video. At 7:30 every Thursday.
Okay, 7:30 every Thursday. Got it. Yeah, good. Yes, I remember the by the number stuff. I learned some musical things, so that's good. It's good to be more musical. Very good, excellent, and such. So, anything else from anybody? Anybody else got some announcements or anything? Anybody appearing at Carnegie Hall or something? I guess not. Okay, then you'll have to watch my videos instead. Then I guess if there's nothing better out there, you're stuck with me. Anyway, till the next time, and such, so forth and whatnot. What frickin' button do I press? Yeah, I gotta go find it. It's over here. All right. So thanks, and till the next time and such. Yeah, that's probably enough.